Good day everyone, my name is Elaine Eprivado and I will be the one to discuss the next topic, which is Bloom's digital taxonomy. So what is Bloom's taxonomy? So Bloom's taxonomy and subsequent revised taxonomies are the key tools for teachers and instructional designers to focus on the cognitive domain. So the purpose of this Bloom's digital taxonomy is to inform instructors and teachers of how to use technology and the digital tools to facilitate teachers and how to use technology from student learning experiences and the outcomes. So the aims of this is to expand the, the thinking skills and that are associated with each level as technology was become and more ingrained essential part of learning. So the next is in learning taxonomy accounts for many of the traditional classroom practices. They often fail to account for new technologies and the process of or action associated with them. So in learning taxonomies, for many and traditional, so from the learning taxonomy, they will be discussed as traditional taxonomy to account for the updated, the Bloom's revised opportunities emerging as the technology advances and it will become more audacious. So the next is while Bloom's taxonomy, it is many forms represent in learning process and it indicates that the learner must start at the lowest level of your work. With technology, the learning process can be initiated at any point and the lower taxonic level will be encompassed within the scaffolded learning task. The next is Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom's digital taxonomy. So in this picture, you have to see the remembering, understanding, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So from the remember, we have recall facts and basic concepts. So for example of this is define, duplicate, list, memorize, repeat, and state. So from understanding, it explains ideas or concept. So it can be classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify, locate, recognize, the report, or select, or even translate. So from the applying, it is the use of information in new situations. So it can be execute, implement, solve, use, demonstrate, interpret, operate, schedule, and sketch. So from the analyze naman po, it is a draw connection among ideas. So it can be differentiate, organize, relate, compare, contrast, or it can be distinguish or examine. So from evaluate, it justify a stand or decision. So with this, it can be appraise, argument, defend, judge, or even select and critique. So and lastly, the create is produce a new or original work. So it can be design, assemble, construct, conjecture, develop, formulate, author, and or investigate. So from the next slide is the digital taxonomy explained. So with this, we have remembering. So what is remembering? So it is a modern example include the use of social bookmarking website used to search engines and social networking. So from understanding, blog, journaling, commenting on website, and categorizing items using folders, applying, playing educational games, editing a wiki, and sharing photos or documents online. So from analyzing naman, creating mashup and over and leveraging Google Docs. From evaluating, moderating a forum, structured and reasons blog responses and software beta testing. And lastly, creating is a directing or filming a video or podcast programming or software. So with the Bloom's taxonomy, it is taxonomy for educational objectives. It helps in instructing and understanding the learning process. He proposed the learning fitted into one and the three psychological domain, which is the first is cognitive, the second is affective, and the third is psychomotor. So what do you mean by cognitive domain? So it is a process of information, knowledge, and mental skills. From the affective domain, it is a form of attitude and feelings, while the psychomotor domain is manipulate manual or physical skills. So, the taxonomy explained that these domains categorize the order thinking skills and objectives of this taxonomy that are follows. The first is, simply put, you cannot he understand the concept if you do not first remember it. The second is, similarly, you cannot apply knowledge and concept if you do not understand them. And the third is, it is the continuum from lower overthinking and the higher order thinking. So from LOT or HAT is, which is stand for lower overthinking, and the higher overthinking is, as you can see for this graph, Bloom's taxonomy and cognitive domain. From the lower, which is the knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, and the synthesis, and the lastly is evaluation. These Blooms describe each category as a noun. They are arranged below in increasing order from the lower order to higher order. So from taxonomy revised, key to this is the use of verbs rather than the nouns for each of the sequence within the taxonomy. So they are arranged below in increasing order from the lower to the higher order. And with this taxonomy revised, it is from Anderson and Catwolf consider that the creativity to the higher within the cognitive domain than evaluation. So let's proceed to the next slide, which is Blooms as a learning process. So with this, Blooms, it is the various form represent a process of learning. So the first is, before we can understand a concept, we have to remember it. The second is, before we can apply the concept, we must to understand it. The third is, before we analyze it, we must be applied to it. And the fourth, before we evaluate it, its impact must be analyzed. And number five, before we can create, we must have remember, understood, and apply. And lastly, we have to analyze and evaluate. So from the next slide, as you can see the digital blooms, which is describe the higher order thinking skills and the lower order thinking skills. So from the higher, we have creating, evaluation, analyzing, applying, understanding, and remember. So with creating, it is explaining how to design, constructing, planning, and producing. So from evaluating naman, it is means by checking, hypothesizing, critiquing, or experimenting. So from analyzing naman, it is comparing or organizing. While applying, it is simply means that you need to implementing, carry out, or using, executing, like uploading and sharing. So from understanding, you need to interpret, summarize, or paraphrasing the sentences. So from remembering, it is recognize or listening, describing, and also identifying each location. So with this graph, you identify how higher order thinking skills and lower order thinking skills much different for each other. So from the next slide, we have Bloom's digital taxonomy and the collaboration. So in the diagram that previous collaboration, it is included as a separate element as well as an element being shared. So with this collaboration, we can take many forms of value of the collaboration can be varied. So point to remember is the collaboration is not an integral part of the learning process. So for an individual, you don't have to collaborate learn. However, learning experience is enhanced by doing so. So collaboration in the 21st century skills of increasing importance, and one of that is used throughout the learning process to facilitate higher order thinking skills. So the importance of collaboration is not a 21st century skill. So it is a 21st century essential. So in a recent blog post from the official Google blog, or Google identified the following as the key traits or abilities of the 21st employees. So the first is communication skills, marshalling and understanding the available evidence isn't useful unless you can effectively communicate your conclusion. The second is team players. Virtually every project at Google is run by a smart team, so people need to work well together and perform unto the team expectation. So from the next, which is the digital blooms component. So the first one is the remembering. So in digital blooms components, we have different kind of digital components. So the first is remembering. So what is remembering in this component? So it is recalling or recognizing knowledge from memory. So remembering is when memory is used to produce the definition facts or list or recite or retrieve material. So it is a key of to these elements of the taxonomy in a digital medium is the retrieval of material. So the digital addition and their justification are followed. So the first is the bullet pointing, the second is highlighting, third is bookmarking, social networking, and searching or googling. So from the first, which is the bullet pointing, so this is an analogy with listing, but it is kind of digital format. So highlighting is a key element of most productivity suits, encouraging students to pick out and highlight keywords and phrases in techniques for recall. So while bookmarking naman, it are favorites, so it is where the student mark for later use website, resources, or files. So student that can be organized this. So social networking, this is an online version of local bookmarking, or it is more advanced because you can draw other bookmark and tags. So while higher order thinking skills like collaborating and sharing can do make use of these skills. So this is the simplest form, and it is the simplest list of sites saved to to online format rather than locally to a machine. So the next is searching or googling. So searching and googling. So search engines are now key elements of student research. At this, the simplest form of student in entering a keywords or phrase in research engine. So the next digital blooms components is understanding. So what do you mean by understanding? So understanding is a constructing meaning from different types of function, concept of the process from either written or graphical form. So understanding have the digital addition. So the first is advanced and Boolean searching. The second is blog journaling. The third is categorizing or tagging. The fourth is commenting and annotating, and lastly, subscribing. So what do you mean by advanced and Boolean searching student? So it is a student require a greater depth of understanding to be able to create, modify, and refine searches to suit their search needs. So the blog journaling is this is the simplest of the user from blog. So it is simply mean by the student like talks, write, or writes or do the daily task specific journal. So from categorizing or tagging, this is a digital classification or organizing and classify files, website, and other material using folders. So using Dell.com, so as other similar tools behind simply bookmarking. So the next is commenting and annotating. So what do you mean by this? From commenting and annotating is a variety of tools exist that allow the user to comment and annotate on web pages, PDF files, and other documents. So while subscribing is an subscription takes bookmarking in its various form and simple reading on level further. So the next slide is the digital components are the applying. So what do you mean by applying? So applying is a carrying out or using a procedure through executing or implementing. So it is refers to the situation we learn materials are used through products like models, presentation, interviews, and simulation. So we have application and additional addition. So the first one is running and operating. The second is playing. Third is uploading and sharing, and lastly editing. So what do you mean executing or implementing? So it is refers to the situation where learned materials are used through product like models, presentation, interviews, and simulation. So applying have additional addition. So the first is running and operating. The second is playing. The third is uploading and sharing. And the fourth is editing. So what do you mean by running and operating? So running and operating is this is operating and manipulating hardware and application to obtain a basic goal or objectives. While playing naman is this is increasing emergence of games as a mode of education leads to the inclusion of this term in the list. Uploading and sharing naman is uploading materials to website and sharing material via site like Flickr and etc. While editing is this is most media's editing, and it is a process or procedure that our editor employs. So the next one is analyzing. So what do you mean by analyzing? So it is a breaking materials or concept into parts, determining how the parts relate or interrelate to one another or to an overall structure or purpose. So it is also a mental action include different testing, organizing, and attributing, as well as being able to distinguish between components. So we have two components, two additional components of analyzing. The first one is machine, and the next is linking. So what do you mean by machine? So mashup, it is a mashup that are integration of several data sources into another's resources. So the next one is linking. So what do you mean by linking? This is establishing and building links within and outside the documents or web pages. So the next one is evaluating. So evaluating is making judgment based on criteria and standard through checking and critiquing. So the evaluating have digital addition. The first one is blog commenting or reflecting. The third is moderating. The fourth one is collaborating and networking. And lastly, validating. So lastly, we have digital blooms components, which is creating. So it is putting the elements together to form a coherent and functional whole. So it is recognizing elements into a new pattern or structure through regenerating, planning, and producing. So we have bloom additional components. The first one is programming. The second one is filming and animating, video casting, podcasting. The third one is directing and producing. And lastly, we have publishing. So that's all, and thank you for listening.